In the year 1983, a town of 6,000 people collectively lost 1 minute, 11:59 p.m. never happened. Tonight, we'll uncover the mystery of Merrow's Hollow, a town untouched by time, until time decided to fight back. You'll hear from those who lived through it and one who didn't. If you could erase 1 minute from your life forever, would you? Drop your answer in the comments. But remember, once it's gone, it might take something with it. At the center of Merrow's Hollow stood an iron clock tower erected in 1891, restored every decade and known for being absurdly precise. It hadn't been off by more than 2 seconds in over 70 years. On June 4, 1983, people gathered in the square for the annual Summer Midnight Festival. Food trucks lined Main Street. Teens loitered on steps, sparklers in hand. Local bands played. The countdown to midnight was a tradition. But as the crowd chanted 10, 9, 8, they jumped from 2 straight to midnight. No 1, no final second, no flash, no bell. The clock tower didn't ring, clicked, and that was the last time Merrow's Hollow ever trusted its clocks. Only one person in town claimed to have heard the missing second. Samuel Crane, 63, retired railroad engineer and notorious insomniac, sat alone in his attic every night at a precise angle, watching the square with binoculars and a hand-wound stopwatch. He said he heard the 1, but it wasn't a number. It was a whisper. Turn around. He did. No one was there. But in the glass of the attic window, he swore he saw a second version of himself smiling, watching. No one believed him, until he disappeared 3 days later, leaving only the binoculars and a cracked stopwatch stuck at 11 hours and 59 minutes. Not broken. Paused. The Merrow Gazette was supposed to print its annual Festival Midnight front page, a staple tradition. But that morning, the presses were jammed, power flickered, and the page file disappeared from every typewriter ribbon and floppy disk in the office. They retyped it manually except the timestamp. Every time they tried to type 12 a.m., it auto-corrected to. Even the analog press plates etched themselves blank in that space. Ink refused to stick. The edition was scrapped. Residents joked about it for a while, but archivists found something more troubling. Every local newspaper, dating back decades, had the same formatting glitch in that exact spot on that exact page retroactively. It wasn't just deleted. It was erased from before it happened. Every 10 years, Merrow's Hollow buried a ceremonial time capsule in the town square. The latest one was sealed in 1980, marked to open in 2030. After the midnight skip, city workers noticed something odd. The capsule's brass plaque had aged decades overnight. Rusted, worn, almost corroded from inside. When they dug it up out of concern, the capsule was already open. The contents? Dust. Unrecognizable. Documents eaten through. A cassette melted into black goo. Worst of all, the small photo album stored inside contained photos no one remembered taking. Children who'd never lived in Merrow's Hollow. A couple in 1970s clothing facing away from the camera, standing in front of a clock tower with no hands. The capsule was resealed, but it started leaking steam that night. Mira Tolson, head librarian for 22 years, kept a nightly journal, a habit born from quiet nights and unspoken loneliness. Her handwriting was meticulous. Indexed. Private. 3 nights after the skipped minute, she wrote, "Something is trapped between the ticks. I can feel it brush past my skin when I pause to think." She began obsessively recording timestamps for every journal entry. Her final note, dated June 7, 1983, read, "I watched the clock stop. Not stall. Stop. It didn't tick again. But I kept moving. What does that make me?" The journal was found in the returned book drop. No one returned it. No fingerprints. Her house? Still tidy. No Mira. But in the library security footage at exactly 11:59 p.m., the tape cuts, then jumps to 12:01 with Myra's shadow still on the wall but no Mira in frame. Some silences are louder than alarms. Local doctor Avery Sloan noticed an uptick in sleepwalking incidents following the midnight glitch. He set up audio surveillance in 5 affected homes to monitor nightly activity. What he captured chilled him. Each recording from different houses, different nights, contained identical audio between 11:58 and 12:01 a.m., a faint metronome. Ticking. Slowing. A voice, low and distant, whispering names. And then he is almost done dreaming. When played back during the day, nothing was audible. But played at night at the exact recorded times, the voices returned. He kept a backup on reel-to-reel. It caught fire in his locked filing cabinet. The tapes melted. The cabinet didn't. Merrow's Hollow Lake was a warm swimming hole in June, averaging 76 degrees. Locals flocked to it during festival week, especially after sunset. But on June 6th, 3 days after the midnight skip, the entire lake surface froze solid. No temperature drop. No storm. No wind chill. Just ice. Fishermen who had boats docked reported frostbitten ropes. Swimmers left their towels on the sand frozen stiff. A geologist came from Boston. He drilled the ice. 6 inches down, he hit glass. Beneath that, running water. And beneath that, a thin sheet of newspaper dated June 5th, 2083. He left the town that night and never returned. The lake thawed by morning, but no one ever swam again. Her name was Emily Doran. 7 years old. Missing 2 front teeth. Always wore yellow rain boots even in the sun. She attended the festival with her parents and was last seen chasing fireflies near the town's war memorial around 11:50 p.m. After the skipped minute, no one remembered her leaving. Her parents, distraught, filed a report. Search parties scoured the woods. Flyers went up. But here's the terrifying part: the school registry deleted itself. Her name vanished from class rolls, immunization records, even birthday party photos. Every image with Emily blurred over time. Except one. A Polaroid found in the mayor's office drawer. Emily stands at the edge of the town square, staring at the clock tower. And in the reflection of the glass, she's not alone. She's holding hands with herself. The first chapel of Merrow's Hollow sat atop a granite bluff and was famous for its acoustics. Choirs sounded like they sang inside cathedrals. But after the midnight skip, a new sound emerged. Every Sunday at 11:59 p.m., even when the building was empty, a single deep bell tone rang from beneath the floorboards, despite the chapel having no bell tower. Curious, the pastor installed a contact mic to record subfloor vibrations. What came through wasn't a bell. It was chanting. Backward. Overlapping voices reciting names, many of which matched the missing persons from the town's archives. When he reversed the audio, it formed a coherent sentence: "What is buried must be remembered, or it will wake." No one goes near the chapel at night anymore. The town's landlines began receiving blank calls around midnight, always at exactly 12 a.m. Just static at first, then breathing, then names. Not shouted, not whispered, just spoken plainly like roll call in a classroom. First name, middle name, last name, one every night. Residents who answered reported intense vertigo, temporary memory loss, and most bizarre phantom limb sensations. People with no amputations felt pain in limbs that never existed. Caller ID logs traced the source to the old payphone booth near the edge of town. Disconnected since 1979. Technicians opened the terminal box. The wires weren't just cut, they were missing. Cleanly removed. Yet the calls kept coming. At exactly 12 a.m., Merrow's Hollow still rings. In response to the growing unease, the mayor called a public meeting at City Hall on June 10th. Flyers went out. Speakers were scheduled. Chairs arranged. Microphones tested. At 7 p.m., residents began to arrive. By 7:05, the building was locked from the inside. No lights, no sound, no response. The local fire department forced entry. The room was empty, untouched, but every attendee swore they were there. They described the mayor's speech in detail. What she wore, the smell of the old carpet, even the coffee served, burnt as usual. Problem was, the mayor had fallen ill that morning and never left her home. The tapes from City Hall's security cameras? Blank, except for a 5-second flicker at 11:59 p.m. A frame showing every chair filled but facing the wall. Merrow's Hollow had one bridge, the old steel truss crossing Miller's Creek. It had been closed for decades. Locals used the newer bypass. But on June 12th, commuters reported a second bridge. Elegant, arched, black stone, with no construction record. It stood parallel to the original, and for exactly 1 hour, it allowed cars to pass through with eerie smoothness. No bumps, no sound, no tire marks. Then it vanished mid-commute. 2 vehicles were never recovered. One was a mail truck. The other, a town maintenance vehicle carrying festival barricades. A week later, pieces of the barricades washed ashore 12 miles upstream, covered in sea salt and sand. Merrow's Hollow is nowhere near the ocean, a bridge to where no one knows. But it was built to welcome. At the Merrow Historical Society, a volunteer was cataloging old civic calendars from the 20th century. She found one from 1983, still sealed in its packaging, never opened. Curious, she flipped to June. The days looked normal until the end. June 30th was missing. The page just ended at June 29th. Then a blank sheet. The next month? Not July. It read, interim. Just that word, in ornate serif font. No dates, no holidays, no moon phases. The paper was faded around the edges but completely untouched in the center, almost as if time had avoided it. When she returned to show her supervisor, the calendar was gone. In its place sat an older one from 1883, perfectly preserved. Time forgets us when we forget to track it. 3 weeks after the midnight event, a man showed up at Merrow's Hollow Hospital. Dressed plainly. Calm. No ID. No injuries. Just a note in his shirt pocket, returned. He couldn't recall his name, birthplace, or age. But he spoke with perfect clarity, eloquent, polite, and disturbingly precise. When shown local photographs from the 1950s, he identified buildings that no longer existed. Described old families long since buried. One nurse swore he resembled a boy who vanished in 1932, whose case was never solved. She brought in an old yearbook. He pointed at the picture. Smiled. That's the last time the town paused. You just didn't notice. That night, he left the hospital and was never seen again. But the security camera recorded him walking through a locked door without opening it. Teenagers in Merrow's Hollow started a dare. At 11:59 p.m., stand in front of a mirror in total silence and wait. If you stayed perfectly still, the rumor said your reflection would move first. Most laughed it off until videos surfaced. Blurry TikToks, VHS conversions, home movies, all showed the same thing. A moment always between the 59th and 60th second, where the reflection blinked early, or turned its head, or smiled. One video, since deleted, showed the reflection not just moving, but stepping out. Afterward, the original filmer began calling themselves by a different name and insisted they had a twin who got lost for a while. The mirror cracked 2 nights later without impact. Clean, vertical, like a door had opened. Old Mr. Halvorsen was Merrow's Hollow's last surviving clockmaker. Quiet, meticulous, nearly blind, but still working from his dusty shop near the edge of town. He hadn't sold a piece in years. But 3 days after the skipped midnight, he unveiled a new creation, a massive, obsidian pendulum clock. No gears, no hands, just a mirrored face and a faint hum like breathing. He claimed it didn't count time. It listened to it. Anyone who stood before it for more than 60 seconds reported strange sensations. Pressure behind the eyes, memories they couldn't place, and most disturbingly, nostalgia for events they had never lived. Halvorsen was found the next morning, slumped in his chair, smiling. On the mirrored face of the clock, one new crack, shaped exactly like a human fingerprint. No one has touched it since, but it's still humming. During a cleanup of the town archives, a group of volunteers discovered an old surveyor's notebook from the 1920s. Inside were detailed maps of Merrow's Hollow. Nothing unusual, until one night, a cartography student left the book open on a library desk under a security camera. By morning, new ink lines had appeared. The camera footage, uninterrupted. No one touched it. The new editions showed a street that didn't exist, branching off from the festival square. No buildings, just a dotted path labeled Return Route. Later, a man claimed to have followed it in a dream. He described houses that remembered you back, and a sky that blinked. 2 weeks later, that same man vanished. His shoes were found on the town square's cobblestones pointing toward a wall. There was no door, just brick, still warm to the touch. The town's old radio tower hadn't worked in years, gutted by a storm in '97. But on June 21st, exactly 18 days after the skipped minute, it powered on. No one flipped the switch. There was no working generator. And yet, at 12 a.m. across every FM frequency, a single message played, "This has been your warning. Recalibration failed. Prepare for descent. The voice? Unfamiliar, robotic, and then unmistakably human. Merrow's hollow is not alone. It repeated 6 times, then cut to static. The mayor ordered the tower dismantled. But when workers arrived, they found the base scorched and the ladder melted halfway up as if touched by something not bound by heat or gravity. That night, the sky flickered. Just once, like a pulse. Before we dive deeper into the chilling aftermath, what would you do if your town lost a minute and everything changed? Drop your theories in the comments. And if you're brave enough to keep going, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories pulled straight from the shadows. Every child under 10 at Merrow Elementary was given crayons and asked to draw what you remember from the festival. Out of 47 students, 39 drew the same image. A black circle in the sky. Not the moon, not the sun, just black. Surrounded by stick figures facing away from it. Some had no faces. One drawing had words written backward, not done yet. Parents dismissed it as imagination until the school's art room began smelling of smoke each night at 12 a.m. But nothing ever burned. One janitor swore he saw the black circle pulsing on the ceiling tiles. Festival security footage from midnight June 3rd revealed a 2-minute clip that no one remembered witnessing. A parade of masked figures walking through Main Street, silent, slow, deliberate. No drums, no music, no audience. The footage timestamp? 12 to 12:02 a.m., the time that supposedly never existed. They carried lanterns that glowed blue, casting no shadows. One figure stopped, looked directly into the camera, and raised a finger to its lips. When residents attempted to scrub the footage, the deletion failed. Instead, their hard drives added a folder labeled "Watch Again." It opens by itself every night, always at 11:59 p.m. Near the forest's edge, there's an old stone well, dry for generations. Kids used to toss coins in, hoping for echoes. After the skipped minute, people began hearing whispers from inside. Not just any whispers, their own voices, saying things they hadn't yet said. Apologies never made. Secrets never shared. One man claimed he heard his own voice say, "I'm already inside." The well was sealed with concrete. 2 weeks later, the seal cracked. From the inside out, and every coin thrown in since has vanished. No splash, no sound, just gone. So what happens when a single minute goes missing? Maybe it's not just time that slips, but boundaries. Between memory and reality. Between what's buried and what refuses to stay that way. Merrow's Hollow was never officially declared haunted, but no one argues when the clocks are covered at night. And if you ever visit, you'll notice there are no 12 a.m. events on the calendar. Not anymore. Stick around. The next story gets darker.